What how's it going? I'm Mark Duffy. Welcome to my channel. On today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing the AstrHori 120mm 2x macro lens. Full disclosure, I do get to keep this lens and it has no impact on what I'm going to say about this lens. But this is a different kind of video that I'm going to be presenting to you, as this is a watch before you buy video, because there is one critical flaw of this lens that is not addressed in any other video that I have seen on YouTube, and I've debated whether or not to do this video, and having used it on a commercial shoot, I feel compelled to actually share my thoughts on this lens. So straight off the bat, we'll just talk initially just as we would normally do on any other lens. This is full metal construction. You'll be used to this with AstrHori. It has a nice sizable weight to it. Not very front heavy either. It is, when it's on the camera, it's actually quite comfortable on it. I have to say, the grip for the focus is one of the nicest that I've felt. I would have preferred it not being metallic. The grip is really nice, but I do feel a lot of use out of this. This is where you start seeing the paint move away. So you recognize that with older vintage lenses. And then as well as that, the focus throw is massive. Here I am at 2:1 ratio, and I turn and I keep turning and I keep turning. And there is when I got to 1:1 ratio. And then from 1:1 to infinity, I just have to go that much. It is mad. I would reckon 2/3 of the turn, 2/3 of the focusing is dedicated from 1:1 to 2:1. So they're really expecting you to use this as a 2:1 macro. It is an f2.8 lens with a clicked aperture, and it goes as far as f22. I'm not the biggest fan of macro lenses that only go to f22, because your depth of field gets so shallow the closer you get to a subject. Did you need that extra bit of space by closing down your aperture to get more depth of field? And you're limited to an f22. I have had other macro lenses in the past that went to f32. I have a tilt shift macro lens that goes to f45, and it's not that I want to use them at f45, because you would need an incredible amount of light to be able to light that properly, but it's the fact that at f32 you possibly are not in the realm of diffraction. Certainly, if you have a lens that closes down to f32, you could get away with shooting f22 clean. But I know for a fact the minute I go to f22, this is going to be soft as butter, because I'm in a diffraction realm. I'd have to stay at f16, and then I have to start considering about doing focus stacking, which I'd much rather minimize. So there's one thing I'm not a big fan of, is macro lenses that only go as far as f22. I'd love them to stretch out further. On the lens is on the front, all the way around, actually. I didn't even notice there's one at the back. There are screws. So I'm guessing this is to be able to screw on different like macro style, gooseneck lights that you see people using. So that's a really cool option. So you can tell that this is really for outdoors. I'm thinking like mushroom out in the forest. If you watch Courtney Victoria, this would totally suit her style of shooting. I love her macro photography. And then you'll notice on the back there are no electronic points on this, because this is a fully manual lens. It won't even tell the camera what aperture you're using, because the camera doesn't know. The camera doesn't even know this is attached to it. So if you can't get this working on your camera, go into your settings and select shoot with no lens attached. And there you go. Any lens that's like that, vintage lenses and all the rest, that's how you combat that. I do have to laugh as well. It says NEX on the base cap of the lens. I didn't know Sony was still referred to as NEX. Do you remember that NEX camera, the first one, NEX1 or something? A bit of nostalgia to this lens, isn't there? So I found this lens to be pretty sharp. I quite like the sharpness out of the lens. I like the build quality of the lens. Very, very easy to use. The big con I have on this is that if you are using this lens for longer or wider than 1:1 ratio, you get this horrendous orange glare, and it doesn't matter what you're photographing. I could be photographing this countertop here, that's not overly bright, but it will reflect enough light back into the lens, causing glare. I reported this back to AstrHori, and their reply was, our technicians say that you should be able to fix this in post. And I'm like, I'm a product photography. I need color accuracy, or else I'm going to get it in the ear from clients. I did do a shoot for a client. I did have to use this lens, and I found that a strange thing happens. The moment you pass 1:1 into the space from 1:1 to 2:1, the colors neutralize, and this lens is great. This is a great lens once you're past 1:1. But if you're anyway the other side, I don't like that glare, unless you're going to be outside, like I said, you know, shooting mushrooms in a forest where you might have that evening glow, and if you want to accentuate it, the lens is going to do that for you, because it has the, I don't understand it, and I didn't appreciate AstrHori's opinion on it either, and that's the one thing. Like, honestly, I was disappointed to see that not many other people had brought this up in their YouTube videos. I would think that would be a deciding factor on whether or not I would buy the lens or not. I wouldn't have much need for 2:1. I was shooting these tiny microscopic, I don't know what they were, they're electronic things. They're absolutely tiny, 3mm diameter. I needed 2:1. I actually could have done with a 4:1 macro, really and truly, if I'm totally honest, on that shoot. So I needed this lens. I've not had to do full macro in a couple of years. Even for product photography, you rarely ever have to go that close into a product. I would think 1:3 ratio, maybe 1:2. But like, for instance, my Canon 135mm tilt shift lens is not a full macro. It does not go 1:1, it goes 1:2. And I've rarely ever had to go to its minimal focus distance. So, you know, that just goes to show the need for this depth of macro in product photography. But what I do need is color accuracy. That is essential. So yeah, so let's have a look here. What price is this coming in at? Yeah, this one's coming in at €475. And I think if there wasn't that glare problem, I think the $475 would be worth it. I think this would be a really good lens to own. If you can make the glare work for your workflow, get this lens. If not, maybe find another macro lens. But I'm going to leave it up to you what you think. Would the glare would that be a deal breaker for you? Let me know in the comments. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got something from it. If you did, give it a like and maybe subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to get notified every time I post up a new video. Find me on all the social medias under Mark Duffy Photography. And until the next time, later gators.